Alright, so this week we've got Don't Look in the Basement, which is the first of the plain black spine DVDs. Let's have a look. Don't Look in the Basement, otherwise known as The Forgotten, Don't Go in the Basement, and The Snake Pit, is a 1973 independent American horror film directed by S.F. Brownrigg. It was added to the list of video nasties, and a sequel was made in 2015 by the director's son Tony Brownrigg, which was met with very negative reviews. So the film throws us straight into an insane asylum. We meet Sarge, a guy who thinks he's still a sergeant in a war, Harriet, who believes her doll is her child, and Sam, who has the mind of a child.
Bet you don't know how many kinds of soup I've eaten, Janie. Come on, guess.
Sam is kind of our main crazy guy. We then meet Danny, who jumps out and annoys Harriet. Cut to outside, where Dr. Stevens is chopping wood with Judge, a very nervous patient. A nurse comes outside to say that she's quitting when Judge kills Dr. Stevens with the axe. Dr. Masters runs up to sort out the situation while we get a monkey scream from the nurse. Harriet sees her doll is missing. She finds it in the nurse's room and thinks that the nurse was the one who stole it, so she attacks and kills her. We then meet our main character Charlotte. She had arranged with Dr. Stevens to start working for him. Dr. Masters tells her that Dr. Stevens is dead and that she had no knowledge of her coming, but she eventually allows her to start and she shows her to a room. Apparently there are no locks on any of the doors, including the patient's ones. An old lady appears and says that Charlotte should leave.
Get out!
And she says this poem while kinda sounding like the residents.
Up the airy mountain, down the rushing glen, you never can go hunting for fear of little men.
And she pulls some crazy faces. The next day, and Charlotte and Dr. Masters are going through paperwork when Dr. Masters secretly hides a document. Ooh. They talk about patients, and apparently Dr. Stevens didn't like operations, and the last one he did was a frontal lobotomy on Sam. They also talk about a patient called Allison who's very overly sexual, and we'll meet her next. Over in Judge's room, and Allison's getting all flirty with him. He's having none of it though, and she has a shout at him. We then jump to Charlotte walking with Mrs. Callahan. She insists Charlotte leaves again and says her poem. Back at the house, and someone cuts Charlotte's phone cable. Sam comes in and says he thinks Dr. Stevens is still alive. The next morning, and Charlotte finds that Mrs. Callahan's tongue has been cut out. Apparently she's okay though, she just lost a lot of blood. And a tongue. A repairman appears, he lets himself in and talks to some of the patients, not realising for a while that they're all crazy. Also, there's a really bad edit here.
Say, you've got some trouble with your telephone. Could you show me where the equipment is?
Dr. Masters appears and she isn't happy about him coming, but she lets him do his job. Allison comes over to the repairman and gets all flirty. He tries to get her off, but she corners him. Jennifer, the reclusive one, attacks Charlotte with a knife, but is pulled off by Dr. Masters and slapped. And we get a really weird edit again. And then we cut over to Sam, who's still talking about Dr. Stevens being alive. Danny comes in to annoy Harriet and Allison. He grabs Harriet's doll and then gets all touchy-feely with Allison, but runs away laughing. Allison runs off crying and then gets all flirty with Judge again, but he's still having none of it. She then asks for Judge's help, looking for the repair guy I think. Danny and Sarge have an argument and Dr. Masters walks in to tell Sarge off, and she sees a piece of paper on the floor. I think it's the one that she hid earlier, and I think it says that she's a patient here. She grabs the paper and sets fire to it and forces Sarge to hold it. Yeah, she's crazy. Sam walks in on Charlotte mixing drugs, and he says that Dr. Stevens is worried about Charlotte and wants to help her. That night, Judge walks in on Charlotte with his axe and is about to kill her. Danny appears and kisses her, and Judge says that he'll kill her later. Sam is sweeping and notices something, so he runs off to tell someone. Jennifer sees that someone's been through her drawers and goes looking for a medication, but gets attacked and killed. Sam runs into Allison and takes her to see the dead repairman. Allison freaks out and says that it was Dr. Masters who did this, as she's a patient and is insane. Charlotte goes asking people about Dr. Masters, and they all confirm it. They also say that Dr. Masters told them all that Charlotte was a patient, so she confronts Masters about it, and apparently she used to be a nurse, but accidentally killed someone quite early on, and it sent her over the edge. Masters has a syringe and tries to attack Charlotte but ends up sticking herself. The film sneezes.
I'm going away. You're going away?
And things start to kick off. Charlotte walks in on Allison in bed with the dead phone guy. Sam gives Charlotte a note from Dr. Stevens, who is apparently still alive, so Charlotte then goes to look in the basement, even though the film title says not to, and she finds someone on the floor who she then starts to attack, and it's Dr. Stevens. Masters and Sam appear, and Masters uses Sam to take Charlotte upstairs, and they're about to lobotomise her, when Sam has a flashback and changes his mind, and he ends up rescuing her. All the patients enter with weapons and kill Masters. Sam takes Charlotte outside and tells her to leave. He then goes back inside and kills everyone. He gets a popsicle and cries, and the film ends. Okay then, so, what did I think? I really enjoyed it. It was paced well, had very likeable and colourful characters, and to say it was filmed in 12 days on such a small budget, I think it ended up being pretty fun. It is a little cliche, and it doesn't really paint mentally ill people very well, but for an independent horror film from the 70s, you could do a lot worse. The acting was pretty decent, and the gore was okay, and the music fit well with the atmosphere. There were a few editing issues I noticed, but that's about it. Yeah, surprisingly good. I did guess the twist quite early on though. Now on to the release. It isn't great. The print's very low quality and the audio's pretty bad. But look at this menu. What the fuck is all this about? They actually use their logo. Outside of the DVD case, this is the first time they have ever done that. 16 films in. They don't use that shitty Dead of Night intro thing though. That just disappeared. Insane. The menu is before the film as well. Very nice, but we get no special features. Now for the case. The tagline is awful, and on the back straight off we have murder spelt wrong. Also, it says things out of order plot-wise, over-exaggerates the extremeness of it, and kinda gives away one of the twists. Not great. The runtime's off by 6 minutes this time, which is funny, because if they'd have just left it at the usual 90 minutes, they'd have been right. Stupid. I should point out as well that, even though this film was banned, and as far as I can see this is the uncut version, it's got a 15 certificate, which again I feel I've seen a lot tamer stuff than this with an 18. I mean, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is an 18. Weird. Also the DVD was named again, this time it was called Basement. Overall then, I thought this film was pretty good. Now, I'm not sure whether I'm saying that because this is better than some of the shit I've seen on this release so far, or whether it's actually a good film. It's hard to tell at this point. But I had fun watching it. It was let down by the release, however, so I would recommend the film, but I would not recommend this DVD.